YouTube. So I hope you liked that last video I made, but today I want to talk about something a little bit more, something that my personal thoughts are becoming. I'll just go in my room here for a second on Monster Hunter World, and we could talk about, or I'll talk about what's been going on and where I feel on my thoughts. This has nothing to do about Monster Hunter World. um, as you know, times that we're living in, and even like in the uncertainties, and I want to bring it up to my attention because I have cousins who live out in the Midwest and in the southern states. And what I've been thinking about, my whole personal aspect of everything that's been going on, I found out last night that a 19 school shooting has occurred out in Kentucky. And I have family members that are out there. You know, of all the things, you know, the younger youths, in protest of the NRA, with this entire administration, our current administration, a thing that also happened out in Pennsylvania where churches are starting to carry guns. These religious zealots who are now going to start carrying guns inside the churches. And my thoughts are, it's 2018, and I feel sick, I feel saddened that things that have been going on, the violence, everything's spiraling out of control. It's been making me sick to my stomach, and something has to be done. Look, you know, whatever viewers watch my channel, or whoever my subscribers are that watch my channel, you know, I feel bad for the kids. I feel bad for what happened out in Florida with those 18 kids. I mean, we had a shootout here where I live about a few years ago. And my thoughts, my prayers, what I feel is heartbreaking is, you know, it's kind of like you go out and you buy something, and when you break something, or something is broken when you buy it, you return it, and well, that's easy to do. But when you take another life, that's something you cannot replace. My thoughts, my prayers, my condolences to the family members with these school shootings in the past year, the start of the new year. These 19 now school shootings. My thoughts and prayers are out for those families who have to now. If you're a single parent, it's going to be hard because your son or daughter's not going to come back. You know, with these people going around with the M16s or the AR-15s. I mean, that should be those weapons shouldn't even be sold in gun stores. And it reminds me back to the Sandy Hook shooting, the same thing. You know, for my longest of time, you know, we all want the gun control. I'd rather see the gun control in action. My personal feelings are about the whole thing is when you start opposing gun control, those who are in support of this administration, you know, enough's enough. Enough is enough. I mean, How many more family members are going to lose their kids every 60 hours when another school shooting happens? I mean, it's bad enough. The parents in Florida who they're not going to see their kids anymore. The parents pretty much anywhere that their kids were shot up in the school because of what's going on. My personal thought and my personal opinion about what I'm about to say is this administration we have, the NRA, all of this needs to go away. I think our administration should be removed. I think the NRA should be gone because they're the ones that allowed this to happen. And it's relatively apparent now these families are crying because they don't have their kids anymore because of some gun running lunatic goes into a school and kills them, and then this administration telling teachers that they should carry guns. It's not going to happen. You know, enough's enough. I mean, this is my personal thought. I want you to sit back and and think, what would you do one day you got a phone call from a school and your son or daughter had gotten killed by a crazed lunatic teenager who goes in with an AR-15 or an M16. I mean, I just want to put it out there. I mean, don't, take it with a grain of salt, whether if you agree or not, or you don't agree with me, but my personal opinion about this whole thing, I mean, I'm backing the families up on this. I'm backing up the families in Florida, backing up the families in Connecticut, backing up the families in New York, backing up the families who had lost their children through acts of gun violence. I mean, even the LGBTQ community. You know, the shit that happened at that Pulse nightclub out in Miami. You know, this needs to stop. And my personal thoughts are that this administration needs to go. The NRA need to go. We need a system where we have better gun control. You know, my family members many years ago in the early 1900s had came here, when America was America. And that America that I knew when I grew up wasn't run by a fascist group. We had greed, but it wasn't this relatively apparent. I mean, some of you who had voted for this hate and rhetoric, I mean, I'm cool with certain things. I don't like to judge others, but I'm hoping that some of you people who bought a lie into voting for this hate and rhetoric and everything that's should not be in office, who think that the person you voted for was lying to you and doesn't do anything for you. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, what is happening, and I wish that the majority of people can actually learn history, learn it, and understand that being a country, being a U.S. citizen, you should have the liberties, you should have the equality, you should have the freedom. None of this bullshit where, oh, I hate everybody. I mean, look, it's 2018, okay? But I guess what I'm saying is that some people out there are just acting like a bunch of kids. You know, acting like it's their personal playground where they could bully people, they could shoot people up for no apparent reason. You know, stupid shit. You know, it's not just whether if you're gay, trans, lesbian, bi. I mean, we even now, at this point, that the local governments are pretty much going to start taking control of the situation until we do something about this current administration we have. And it is coming very soon, but in all things of consideration, I cannot tell you how deeply disgusted I am. The way how people, you know, how you can let a kid walk into school carrying a gun and start blasting everybody for no apparent reason. Why? Because the kid's got mental issues. But what really tips me, and I'm going to be honest, you know, Trump says it's violence in video games. Trump says it's violence in movies. Well, let me tell you something. It's not the video games, it's not the movies. Now, if you want to say it's in the video games, look, we already have a rating system for video games. You know, ESRB, being, you know, general audience, mature, you know, you have to be 17 plus, you know, to buy games. And, you know, we're living in that time frame yet again when Tipper Gore did the same bullshit. And what I also have noticed as well, you know, let's put aside the school shootings. Let's put aside the false statements about video games and movies making kids or adults violent. That's not about what's going on. What's going on is the insecurity levels of the American people. Going back to 9/11, when we had the violence outbreak, when every Arab American got the shit kicked out of them because they were different. But it's not like what it was in 9/11. This is far worse. And my personal opinion about everything, it's just not, you know, I mean, America has now devolved, not all parts of America, the educated people, and now the families who've lost their kids in the school shootings. It's to the point now where people had enough. You know, we can sit, we can point fingers around, and, you know, it's kind of like going back to when we all remember what good Obama did for this country. What we actually did when we went forward. You know, I'll be perfectly honest, these log cabin Republicans who think they're trying to do the country the best thing in the world, they're living so back during the 1700s. They are too much afraid to even move forward. And the funny thing is, these local governments are now stepping in more and more. And what's going to happen is we're going to be leaving those who are more educated and more susceptible to society and its upcomings would further go on. But also means that the Republicans can stay back in their dark ages, because let me tell you something. I strongly think, you know, by the time 2018 midterm election comes around, there's not going to be a Republican Party, and which I'm fine with, but that's not the point. My feelings, my point of view is that I think, you know, as a country, we should be together. We should be working together, not fighting at one another, not trying to be so insecure about one another, not trying to do something stupid to somebody who's entirely different from you. That's not what it should be. You know, I come onto my channel, I do what I can do with my channel, and normally I don't talk about politics on my channel, but it seems lately all the stuff that's been going on, I have no choice now but to say what's been on my mind. We all have to remember though, I mean, whether or not we get something different or we get something maybe, I don't know. But the truth is I'm getting at is, as a country, as a whole, we need to stop and think. We need to, we actually just need to working together, not against. We need to work together against all the hatred, what this administration has brought on. These fake rules, the fake religious zealots who are carrying M16s or AR-15s as a means of transportation. Now, last night I was reading an article. They said any heterosexual, now this is out in Pennsylvania, any heterosexual, please bring your AR-15s to the church. Now, they mean to bring AR-15s to the church means that they want to bring the supposed, their religious beliefs are the iron rod, which is the AR-15. Now, I'm going to give a little preacher here and say that Christ never carried a machine gun. Christ never condoned murder. God never condoned murder. And last I remember, a religious zealot telling heterosexual couples to bring a gun into a church is against everything of God's will. I mean, take somebody who's born differently, and let's say you have somebody who doesn't like your child because they have a defective problem, a birth defect. Now, if anybody is familiar with how God and the actual teachings are, God would never condone violence. I mean, this church out in Pennsylvania, wherever it is bringing upon violence. And, well, here's the thing I look at it. Alright? We were taught to love one another. Not to bring violence, but when you have an administration, you have Republicans who don't really care about the way life is. They're not living, they're dead. But why should we, as a country, we should be fighting against this, and it's becoming more readily apparent that we're starting to get to the point where we're going to end up fighting against this administration. I hate to say it, but we don't deserve to be being pit up to one another. This is not how the American core values are. Now, look at it this way. People voted in retaliation. People have slandered our former president, Barack Obama. And one thing you have to remember, I mean, even though, I wish Barack could have done a third year. I wish he could have went till 2020. We all did. 4 more years. And my own personal opinion on that is everything that has happened, ever since this administration's got in, this should have not happened. I think the people who aren't educated need to be educated. I think that, if someone is a different color and they run for president, but if you vote for somebody who's got full of hate and rhetoric and everything else that doesn't belong, you're voting out of retaliation. And with the 2018, midterm elections, if some of the states I know are already starting to turn blue, but I think we need to change that. We need to get rid of the NRA. We need to come up with a better gun control law to replace the NRA, one that won't bribe, or one that won't corrupt the politicians by giving them money. This has been going on for too long. And I know I'm going to be overstaying on my video, but I just had to put it out there. My thoughts, my prayers, my condolences to the family my condolences to the family members who now don't have their kids that are with them to this day. You know, that's it. To me, that coming out of me is saying a lot, that I feel bad for them. You know, they were these kids that were just going to high school, going from kindergarten to high school. They're not going to have a future now because of some awful lunatic who runs in there with a semi-automatic weapon, shooting up kids, thinking that, oh well, because my life is so fucking goddamn miserable, you want to shoot everybody else's kids and make their lives miserable. If you're that unstable and you're carrying an AR-15, you need help. You know, you don't even deserve to even be on the streets with anybody. You know, and then on top of it, I'm going to bring up one last thing here. This administration, in case some of you don't know, that your parents and grandparents are going to be screwed out of their medical, out of the Medicare and Medicaid. And this goes to show that my mom got screwed out of her Medicare, because this country had taken away all her medical rights. So if my mom gets sick, and she dies, I know who I'm going to blame. It'll be the corrupt politicians who think about themselves, I'll put it that way. These corrupt politicians, the Republicans, they think no more of themselves. And for them, what really appalled me, going back to the shooting out in Florida, that Rubio had no sympathy for the family members when the one father spoke up, saying that, can you ever replace my daughter? And then Rubio tried to make a lie about things. But it was so priceless to watching that video and that look on Rubio's face like he got kicked square right in the fucking balls. But we need to change all that. We need to get rid of the corrupt. We need to, come up with a better solution rather than trying to kill people at random. I'm not gonna carry out anymore. But this is my thoughts. And to the families in Florida, to the families in states that have lost their kids during these school shootings, I give a big condolence to all of you. I really do. I understand where you guys are coming from. I understand how it is to lose people. I understand that 100%. My heart-filled sympathy goes out to you guys. To the family members who are no longer going to see their kids. This is something I didn't like. This is something I didn't want to see have happened. I mean, we would all love to see kids grow up, graduate from school and have a successful life and everything else. Come on, people. Just realize that kids are also human beings. Don't fucking try to take away their rights, or don't try to take their life in that matter, because it's not worth it. I know I'm going on with the video with this, and I had to put it out there. And I'm sorry if some of you people don't like what I have to say, but it's just what it is. And I'm deeply saddened by how things are, and I just hope this message had gotten across, and that's pretty much what I had to say. This is Layla saying, I'll be up on the next video, and you try to, people out there, just try to at least show compassion and don't judge others, because later on in life you will be judged, and that's something nobody wants done. But this is Layla saying bye for now, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.